sorry in advance for the lighting. The sun is going in and out, kind of doing its own thing. Oh, shoot, almost spilled my tea. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really nervous. And I'm gonna be even more honest, I did not feel like coming on live. I was just having a conversation with God. I was like, I'm gonna be real. I don't really understand why I keep doing this. I don't know why I keep making these videos and putting out these messages. I kind of feel like it doesn't matter. Like, I don't really feel like I'm making a difference. But then God had to check me like, Kyla, this ain't about you. It's about what I've called you to do. Even if you just help one person, even if you just help one person, you're doing what I called you to do. Like, don't feel like because it's not thousands of people watching, what you're doing doesn't matter. It's not about the number of people, it's about who is watching, even if it's just one person. Even if I could just help one person, I did my job. So he had to check me, and I was like, okay, Lord, even though I don't really feel like going on live, and I kind of feel anxious because the topic is a very deep topic. It's a very deep subject. But whenever God calls me to speak on something, I have to be obedient, even though I'll be kind of like giving God a hard time, like, oh Lord, like I feel like this is pointless. Like, why do I keep doing this? But anyways, yeah. So if you see me looking down, I am looking down at my notes. But yeah, like I said, I'm very nervous. I'm gonna be honest because this is a very heavy subject, but I feel like somebody needs to hear this. So whether you've been in an abusive relationship or you're currently in one now and you don't know how to get out, or if you simply don't understand why people would be in an abusive relationship. Like, I'm gonna be real, I was one of those people. I used to look at other women like, I would never let a man treat me like that. I would never let a man put his hands on me. I would never let a man talk to me like that. And all the things I said I would never let a man do, guess what? I let a man do all those things. And God really humbled me. He really humbled me because I was thinking I was superior. I was thinking, like, I don't see how women let men hit them and treat them any kind of way and talk down to them and disrespect them. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I would never let. And God was like, oh, so you think you better than these women? You think, yeah, let me be clear. Men can be abused too. Men can be in abusive relationships too. But because I'm a woman and I've been in an abusive relationship, I'm just speaking from the perspective of a woman. But God was like, oh, you think you better than them. You think you better than them because you feel like, oh, she's less than me because she allow a man to mistreat her. And instead of having empathy, I ain't gonna lie, I would kind of like turn my nose up and I would feel like I was better because I'm like, man, I would never let a man, if a man try to hit me, da 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 da. And guess what? I ended up in that exact situation. And it humbled me so much and it made me more empathetic and more understanding. So now, if I come across a woman or anybody who is in an abusive relationship, instead of looking down at them and being like, oh, you're dumb, like da da da, because I've been through it, I understand the three main reasons people stay in abusive relationships. Number one, self esteem issues. I had self esteem issues and I didn't even realize it because I was confident on the surface. I had surface level confidence, but deep down, I didn't really love myself. I did not realize how beautiful I was. Like, I used to have body dysmorphia, face dysmorphia. I used to want all types of plastic surgery. Like, I really hated myself. I had such low self esteem, such low self worth. I really did not value myself. Subconsciously, I didn't think I was worthy. So, number one, self esteem issues. Number two, empathy. A lot of times, people who stay in abusive relationships is because they realize this person is not right in the head. This person who's being abusive for no reason, they have mental issues. And the person who is in a relationship getting abused, they understand that. They recognize that. So what happens is they have empathy for that person because they're like, listen, even though, yes, this person beat me, this person cheated on me, this person disrespects me, calls me out my name, I know it's because they have mental issues. That is what goes through the mind of a person who's in an abusive relationship. They realize their abuser has mental issues. So they have this hero syndrome. Like, I can save him. If I'm me being so loving and genuine and understanding, I could be a positive influence on him. I could save him. I can help him. I can fix him. So a lot of times we have this hero syndrome where we recognize this person is sick and we want to heal them. So it's like subconsciously we have good intentions, but we don't realize we're trying to play God. Because at the end of the day, you can't save that person. You need to worry about saving yourself. You cannot save that person because you are not God. And you ain't a therapist. You ain't a therapist and you ain't God. But yes, empathy, that's another reason why people stay in abusive relationships. That was part of the reason why I stayed in an abusive relationship because I realized that man was sick. It was clear as day. I knew from the beginning it was something going on in his head. But instead of being like, you know what? This guy is not mentally stable enough to be in a relationship. So I'm going to just remove myself from the situation. Instead of doing that, I was just like, oh, I can help him. I can save him. I can fix him. He's just misunderstood. He just has a lot of trauma. And yes, indeed, 9 times out of 10, a person who is abusive, they do have a lot of trauma. But guess what? That's not your problem. That's not your business. You can have empathy for that person, but that doesn't mean you have to stay with them. That doesn't mean you sacrifice your well being to make this person happy. Hell nah. I did it for almost 4 years. I was constantly thinking about him, thinking about, oh, who's going to save him? Who's going to help him? He needs me. Like, and I was not even realizing I was so worried about his mental health that I I was so worried about his well-being that I didn't give a fuck about mine. And he didn't care either. Anytime I would express to him when he would have these episodes of rage, anytime I would express to him, you're making my chest hurt. Like, I'm gonna end up having a heart attack. Like, do you not care? And he would not care. He would always make it about him. And he would always flip it on me. So it's like, you're so concerned about this person's well being that is at the expense of your well being. And here's the thing, if you were to drop dead right now, that person would go on with their life. They would go on with their life. So it's like, that's something I had to realize. Like, Kyla, you're constantly putting this person's well being before your own. Like, anytime you have to constantly put somebody else's well-being before yours, even though they are the one causing you mental issues. They're the one causing you trauma, but you feel like you have to sacrifice yourself for them. That is an abusive relationship. Even if that person hasn't put their hands on you, that is an abusive relationship. So, yeah, let me take a sip of my tea. And the third reason people stay in abusive relationships is trauma bonding. And a lot of times people think trauma bonding means we both bond over our trauma. I have trauma, you have trauma. Let's talk about our trauma. That's not trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is when you feel a deep attachment to the person who's causing you trauma. That goes back to the hero syndrome. You feel like even though this person is mistreating me, abusing me, using me, I just feel like I have to be there for them. Even though they're causing me all this stress, all this trauma, all this pain, I still feel an obligation to this person. That is trauma bonding. And I did not realize all these things until after I got out of the relationship. I did not realize what I was in until I was out of it. And I was like, it's insane. People, if you've never been in an abusive relationship, you don't understand how insane it is. like, a lot of times when people hear abusive relationships, they automatically think physical. But most, I'm not even gonna say most, all abusive relationships don't start out abusive. And they don't start off with physical abuse. Physical abuse is usually the last straw. That's the final step. First, first, here's the thing. It doesn't start off abusive. They actually shower you with love and attention, and they make you feel seen. They make you feel heard. But it's all a facade. It's not real. It's a part of their strategy. And once you realize that, it's so sick because you really felt like it was real. You really felt like it was genuine. You really felt like that person cared about you and you were the apple of their eye, but you weren't. And that's what's so sick about being in an abusive relationship, especially with a narcissist. But yeah, it never starts it never starts out abusive. It always starts with rainbows and butterflies. They make you feel like you are the most beautiful person on earth. They make you feel like nobody has ever made you feel before. And that's how they reel you in. That's how they butter you up. And shortly after that, that's when the psychological abuse starts. First, it always starts with the mind. They always attack your mind first. And it's very subtle how they do it. The manipulation, the gaslighting. It's so subtle that you be like, yo, am I tripping or is this person you be questioning yourself because it's so subtle, but you can feel you know it's something off. It's something off. So first it starts psychological. Then after the psychological, after the psychological, then after the psychological is intimidation. They start breaking things in the house. They start punching walls. They start raising their voice. Because here's the thing, they have to warm you up to the abuse. They can't just come out day one boom, punch you in the face the first week y'all dating. It usually doesn't happen like that. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for almost 4 years. He did not hit me until the end. He did not put his hands on me until the end. But prior to that, there was so much psychological abuse, so much manipulation, so much gaslighting, and even with him constantly punching walls in the house over the smallest things, things that a person in their right mind would not get upset or get that mad about. And I would just be like sitting there like, yo, am I losing my mind? I feel like, am I tripping or is this nigga crazy? Excuse my language, but I felt like I was in a lifetime movie. Like it just didn't even feel real. Like the things this person would go crazy about, punching walls, shattering glasses, like it was a lot. And anytime he would do that, I would always be like, well, at least he didn't hit me. At least yeah, he's breaking things in the house. He's yelling and intimidating me, but at least he hasn't hit me. That's what I would always tell myself. Pretty much trying to rationalize him having these episodes. And excuse me, I gotta adjust myself because my foot is falling asleep because I'm sitting on the floor. Um, but yeah. Back to what I was saying. I would always just I would always make excuses for him. And here's the thing. No, none of my close people knew what was going on. None of my close people knew until after we broke up. I was so secretive because deep down I knew if I told anybody any of the stuff he was doing, they would be like, Kyla, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? You need to leave this man. And that's another thing because you're so trauma bonded to this person, you find yourself covering up for them a lot. You find yourself making excuses for them all the time because they gaslight you so much to a point where you feel like maybe you're the problem. Maybe it's something you're doing wrong. And oh, I hate when this happens. I'll be talking so passionately and then my mouth be dry and then I'm like, oh, please forgive me, y'all. um, oh yeah. Long story short, I was secretive because in my mind I'm like, well, if I know I'm not about to leave him, I'm not about to be telling my close friends and family. I'm gonna just keep it to myself and really suffer in silence. I was really suffering in silence and I was just taking it. I did not realize, I didn't even realize I was in an abusive relationship until he put his hands on me. But the whole time it was abusive. I was constantly walking on eggshells. That's another red flag. If you're with a person who gets mad over the smallest things, you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. That is a huge sign of an abusive person. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody, you should feel free. You should feel like you can be yourself. You shouldn't feel scared of that person. You shouldn't feel intimidated by that person. If you do, that is an abusive person. You need to run. Oh, another sign, a red flag you need to look out for is if a person is really possessive and jealous. A lot of times we be thinking that's cute, like, oh, they get jealous or they're possessive. It's just because they care about me. It's just because they love me. No, it's because they want to control you. Because let me tell you something, real love is not controlling. Real love is not selfish. Real love is not possessive. If you don't feel free with that person, that is not real love. That's not real love. If you feel like you can't even have a conversation with somebody of the opposite sex, even if it's your family, this person would get jealous even when it came to my friends and family. Like, there was one time I was on the phone with my guy cousin, blood cousin, who I grew up with, and he was in the background huffing and puffing. Like, he was jealous that I was on the phone with my guy cousin. We wasn't talking about nothing inappropriate or nothing. And I thought that was so weird. I'm like, why is he jealous of me talking to my fucking cousin? Like, and but a part of me was just like, he just really like he's possessive because he just really cares about me. He's just really protective. No, he wants to control you. He wants to own you. I did not realize any of this until I got out of the relationship, but I always knew something was wrong. If you sense, and I'm gonna be real, I sensed it from the very beginning, from the very first night I was one on one with this person. I knew he was crazy. I knew there was something wrong with him. So if you pick up on that, don't try to rationalize past that. Don't be like, oh, well, I mean, this person is just misunderstood. Well, no, if you don't feel safe, if you feel like something is off, you need to cut it short. Don't even do it to yourself because I did it and I knew that I was playing with fire, but I was just and God was constantly speaking to me like, girl, girl. And I was just like, la 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 la. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, God. I can't hear you, Lord. I want what I want. I'm gonna make this relationship work even if it hurt. That was pretty much my mentality. And I paid for it. But I'm happy that I went through it because now I can share my wisdom because I know it's somebody right now. Whether you're watching this video right now or you end up watching it later, I know there's somebody right now who is in an abusive relationship. And it might not be physical yet. It might have not got physically abusive, but you know deep down this person is misusing you and abusing you and mistreating you. I know it's somebody that's going to watch this video that needed confirmation for them to leave. You need to leave. Stop making excuses for this person. Yes, they may be mentally sick. They may truly need help, but you can't help them. You have to help yourself. Because if you don't, it's going to cost you your life. One of the reasons why I came on this live and shared this message is because recently, for some reason, I've come across a lot of stories where women were talking about how they almost lost their life being in an abusive relationship. And it was years of abuse, years of physical, years of emotional, psychological, mental, and then eventually physical abuse. And here's the thing, it never just stops at them hitting you. You think, oh, well, if he just pushes me sometimes and if he just punches me sometimes, like, at least he doesn't kill me. Like, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, whether you're a man or a woman in an abusive relationship. Because, like I said, men can be abused too. Even though a man technically, in most cases, is physically stronger than a woman, a man can still be abused by a woman, especially because, like I said, the three reasons people stay in abusive relationships: self esteem issues, empathy, and trauma bonding. A man can't be a victim of those things too. But like I said, because I'm a woman, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective. But these women, they like it, it wasn't just it was something that accumulated over time. Like I said, they don't just come out the gate punching you the first week y'all start dating. They're very strategic. They do little by little to see what they can get away with, but it never stops at them just hitting you. At some point, they are going to get bored with just smacking you and punching you. It's going to take one time. It's going to just take one episode of rage for them to take your life. And I'm not being dramatic because before my ex put his hands on me, I would always downplay all the stuff that he would do. Him breaking things in the house, intimidating me, calling me a bitch, all constantly going through my phone while I'm sleeping, knowing damn well I'm not doing nothing. And that's another thing. Abusive people also, besides, them preying on people who have self-esteem issues, they also go after people who are genuine, people who are pure in their intentions, because then they don't have to worry about you using their medicine against them. If you're a genuine, pure person, they don't have to worry about you trying to manipulate them or play their game, because they know that they know that you're authentic. They know that you're sincere, and they prey on that. They prey on that. They use that to their advantage. They use your vulnerability against you. But all these women, all the stories I've recently heard, like there, and it was a pattern. It was a common theme with all of their stories. Anytime the man would do something crazy, he would always be apologetic. Always, I'm sorry, baby. I'll never do it again. Blah, blah, blah. And that's what would make the woman take them back because they really had hope that he would change. And I was like that with my ex. And anytime he would have these crazy episodes where I would break up with him for like 24 hours, he would always be so apologetic and so remorseful. And I always would just have this hope. This is really the last time he's really going to change. But guess what? He didn't. He just got worse. And hearing some of these women's stories about how they were literally on the verge of being killed. One woman, she was almost burned to death by her ex. She was almost burned to death. Her face is completely disfigured. She looks like a completely different person. Thankfully, she survived, but she went through hell. Literally, he set her on fire. And I'm so passionate about this message because if you are in an abusive relationship, or if you ever come across somebody who you might be interested in, but you feel like, it's something off about this person, I'm so passionate about sharing my story and even other women's stories as examples because I don't want you to get to that point. I don't want you to even get to the point of somebody hitting you. I don't want you to get to the point of somebody calling you a bitch. I don't want you to get to the point of you constantly being gaslighted and manipulated and questioning your own sanity. That's why I'm so passionate because it's deeper than just that person. is really the enemy. It's really the devil using that person as a vessel. It's spiritual warfare. And if you are a person who's going through it, or you've already went through it and you're trying to heal, I just want you to know you went through that to make you stronger. God only allowed it to happen because He knew it was going to make you and not break you. If you're still alive, if you're still here, just know that you going through it, whether you're in it or you were in it and you're still trying to heal, you did not go through that because, first of all, don't beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up. Secondly, you did not deserve that. Even if you ignored red flags, even if you didn't love yourself and you had low self esteem, you still did not deserve that. You did not deserve that. You deserve so much better. But guess what? You have to understand and realize that. If you don't think you're worthy, if you don't carry yourself like you're worthy, you might break up with that person who might be currently abusing you. But guess what? You're going to end up with a person just like them if you don't learn to love yourself. If you don't learn, if you don't know your worth, if you don't know your value and you don't live up to it, you will always attract people who abuse and misuse you. Period. And that's something that I had to realize myself. When me and that man broke up, I knew that it wasn't really about him. It was never about him. It was about me not loving myself. And in a weird way, I'm so thankful for that relationship because it taught me to love myself. Because I was with somebody, I was in a relationship with somebody where I wasn't loving myself. I was putting that person before me and before God. And if I would have never got into that relationship, I would have still had low self esteem. I would have never learned to love myself. I would have always had this facade that I was confident and I love myself and da. But I would constantly be hopping from relationship to relationship, thinking that the men were the problem when it was really me. I was attracting these men because I did not love myself. I did not value myself. I did not know my worth. But now that I do, let me tell you, I will never tolerate disrespect from any man, especially not a man I'm romantically involved with. Period. Any red flag that I pick up on where I feel uncomfortable or I feel disrespected or I just feel like it's something off. No, I'm done. Like, we not even gonna make it to a second day. We not even gonna like, I'm not gonna be like, well, let me just give him a chance. Let me just no, I ain't making no excuses. I'm firm in my boundaries and I like but the only reason I'm like that now is because everything I went through in that relationship. And that's why I say, if you are in an abusive relationship, number one, you need to leave. You need to leave. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I don't give a damn what mental issues they have. I don't give a damn what they went through in their childhood. I don't give a damn, like, respectfully, respectfully. That person is irrelevant. Why would you care so much about somebody who is beating on you and mistreating you and talking down to you? So what? They got some damn mental issues. Guess what? You do too because of them. So it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm still a very empathetic person in general. And I have empathy for people who have mental illness, even if they're being abusive because of it. However, I will always tell somebody to choose themselves first and to love themselves first. Because at the end of the day, if You feel like, oh, I need to be there for this person. I need to stay with them. Who's going to help them? They're sick. They need me. Guess what? Let's say they end up killing you. Who is going to be in that casket with you? Not them. They still gonna be on earth living a life, and they probably ain't even gonna have remorse. The only type of remorse they might have is them getting caught and going to prison. So you have to think about it that way. You have to be cold blooded when it comes to yourself. You can't play about yourself. Because, like I said, when it's your time to go, ain't nobody going with you. It's just going to be you and God. So you always have to put yourself first and put God first. Nobody should ever come before you, especially if they mistreating you. And somebody who might be in that situation might be like, "Oh, well, it's easier said than done." No, it's not no easier said than done because I've been through it. Now I know firsthand. And don't get me wrong, depending on the circumstances, it can be hard to walk away if you live with that person, if you have kids with that person. But it's either you possibly lose your life trying to leave that person versus you for sure losing your life if you stay with that person because they're going to end up taking your life at some point. It might take a few years. It might even take 10, 15 years, but eventually at some point, that person's going to snap. It's not, it's always, it's never going to just stay at them pushing you. It's never going to just stay at, just like I said, it never starts off physical. It starts off mental. Then they do things to intimidate you, breaking things in the house. Then they start verbally abusing you after like literally it goes in that order. After my ex was breaking things in the house and going off and having these episodes of rage, then he graduated to calling me a bitch. And I was like, it's crazy because I would tell myself like, even though he's yelling and going off, at least he's never called me out my name. Then he called me out my name. I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe he called me a bitch. I never thought he would. Then I was like, well, even though he's breaking things in the house and he's calling me out my name and going off, at least he's never hit me. Then one day he shook me and choked me. And that's what finally woke me up. Because I was starting to recognize a pattern. I'm like, it's like if I give him an inch, he takes a mile. And he just keeps, it's like he keeps testing me to see how much he can get away with. And before he put his hands on me, he had broke something in the house. The glass was shattered everywhere. And that was horrifying to witness. So I broke up with him. And the next morning, I'm just in the shower and I'm crying. I'm like, Lord, like, I don't know if I should leave him. Like, should I stay or should I go? Like, I know that he's sick. I know he needs help, but like, I just don't know how much more I can take. And I'm just in the shower, washing my hair, crying. And I heard a still, small voice say, if you don't end up leaving him, if you don't leave him, he's going to end up killing you. It was a still small voice. And I was like, nah, why would he kill me? He's never even put his hands on me. So once he put his hands on me, I was like, oh, that was God that spoke to me in the shower that morning. And I already know how this movie is going to end. If I take him back after this, it's only a matter of time before he ends up killing me. So, yes, did I get into all the red flags? Did I get into all the red flags? Because if you haven't been in an abusive relationship, I want to tell you the red flags to look out for so you don't end up in one just like me. Because, like I said, I was one of those people who was like, I would never be in an abusive relationship. I would never let a man put his hands on me, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I was in an abusive relationship. It's scary how subtle it develops. That's why you gotta be careful. If your spirit is picking up on something with a person, you need to trust that. That's your intuition, which is God speaking to you and trying to give you a damn warning. Like my crazy ass, I was like, la 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 la. Oh, I can't hear you, God. He fine. He's sexy. He's charming. He's funny. Like I don't want to give him up. Not knowing I was going to be sleeping with the devil for almost 4 years. But God bless him. Um, Oh, another thing to look out for is if they isolate you, if they want you to be isolated, if they say things like, oh, I just want you all to myself. Anytime you want to hang out with your friends, they get jealous. They're like, oh, I just want you all to myself. That is a red flag. If they're jealous, if they're possessive, if they want to isolate you. Oh yeah, if they gaslight you, if anytime you express an issue you have with them, instead of apologizing and taking accountability, they always flip it on you. That's a red flag too. If that person gets mad over small things that a person in their right mind wouldn't get mad about, if they get mad about little things that any sane person wouldn't really get mad about, that's a red flag too. These are all signs of a person who is abusive. So yeah. I pray this message blessed you. I did not expect to talk this long. I cannot believe I've been talking for 40 some minutes. Oh, that's how you know. And to think, I didn't even feel like coming on here today, even though I love you guys and I love helping people. I didn't feel like coming on here today. It was just one of them days where I was just feeling discouraged and I was just feeling like what I'm doing doesn't matter. Like, why do I keep wasting my time making all these videos and going live when I have like bad anxiety when it comes to doing stuff like this? But yeah, whenever God tells me to do something, I have to be obedient. But yeah, I pray this message blessed you. If it did, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe. If you need coaching, if you need healing, if you need guidance, check out my website, www.coachwithkai.com. I'll make sure I put it in the description box after the live is over. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.